The paper felt too crisp to be junk mail, and the cold air made my fingers sting as I turned the envelope over. Certified, my name, my new address. I stood under the yellow parking lot light outside my apartment building, breath turning white, and opened it with the edge of my key. One line jumped out like it knew me. It wasn't a bill. It wasn't a warning. It was a notice tied to the house I'd been told was already gone, and my name was on it. I heard my mother's voice like it was still in the kitchen, calm and final. "We sold the house, you're out." I'd believed her then because she sounded so certain. 30 days, no discussion, no explanation. But this letter didn't read like a memory, it read like a record. I stared at the date, then at the property address, and felt that quiet, ugly click in my chest when a story stops fitting the facts. The house wasn't just sold. Someone had moved paperwork with my name attached, and that wasn't even the real betrayal yet. I folded the notice slowly, like I was handling evidence, and went inside to turn on every light. The lights snapped on one by one, harsh and clean, and my apartment stopped feeling like a hallway and started feeling like a bunker. I laid the notice on the counter under the brightest bulb, like light could force it to tell the truth. And somehow, it had found my new address. Before I go further, tell me where you're watching from and what you'd do if someone gave you 30 days to disappear. My name is Maya Rahman. I was 28 then, living just outside Raleigh, working days, studying nights, and rebuilding after my dad died. I wasn't dramatic. I liked lists. I liked receipts. I believed calm people lived longer. That letter was a property transfer notice, the kind you get when something changes on a deed. It shouldn't have come to me. I hadn't signed anything. I hadn't been in that house in months, so I did what I always did when my family got vague. I opened my laptop, and I started pulling records, one date at a time. The laptop fan hummed in the quiet, and the screen threw blue light across the counter. I typed the old address into the county records search bar and hit enter. While it loaded, my mind did what it always did. It pulled up the family map, the one I never drew but always lived inside. In our house, Ethan was the future. I was the spare part. He was my older brother, the one my mom introduced with pride. "This is my son," like he was a title. When she introduced me, it was more like a disclaimer. "This is Maya." No warmth, no story. I didn't notice it as a kid, I just worked harder. Better grades, cleaner room, quiet voice. After my dad died, that imbalance became a rule. The house turned colder. The air smelled like stale coffee and grief, and my mom started measuring love in usefulness. I was the one who stayed. Ethan was the one who visited. I remembered the first time my mom tested what I would cover. It was late fall, rain tapping the kitchen window, the kind that made the whole room feel damp. She slid a stack of envelopes toward me without looking up from the sink. "Mortgage is short," she said. "How short?" I asked. She named a number like it was nothing. I paid it, because I lived there, because my dad's chair was still at the table, because I thought family meant absorbing hits. 2 weeks later, the utilities were behind. Then the insurance. Then a temporary gap that never closed. Ethan would show up with takeout and jokes, and my mom would smile like the lights had come back on. "You should be more like your brother," she'd say, right in front of me. I didn't argue. I just saved the confirmations. Screenshots of payments. Bank alerts with dates. At the time, I told myself it was being responsible. Now I understood it was being trained. The page finished loading, and I stared at the record like it could see me back. This wasn't new behavior. It was just a new level. And I needed to know exactly when they decided I stopped being family and started being paperwork. The record listed a filing date, and my stomach went still when I recognized the month. I clicked the document number and watched a PDF open like a door I didn't want to walk through. Before I even read it, another memory surfaced, sharp as bleach. It was summer, humid and bright, the house smelling like sawdust and lemon cleaner. My mom stood in the hallway with a contractor's estimate like it was a verdict. "Roof needs work," she said. "I'm not asking, I'm telling you." I'd just gotten my first decent raise. Ethan was between jobs again. My mom's eyes slid past the obvious option and landed on me. "I can put it on my card," I said carefully. She smiled, not grateful, relieved. "No," she said. "Use yours, it'll be faster." That was how she said it, like speed was the moral argument. When I hesitated, she tilted her head, voice soft. "Don't start. After everything I've done for you." I paid for the repair. Then she asked me to add her as an authorized user, just in case. I told myself it was harmless. I told myself the card would stay in my wallet. 2 weeks later, a charge hit my phone while I was at work. A home improvement store. Another one after that. Then a furniture deposit. I called her that night. The kitchen light was warm, but the air felt thin. "What is this?" I asked. She didn't even look embarrassed. "It's for the house," she said. "Stop counting pennies." "I'm not counting pennies," I said. "I'm tracking my name." That made her eyes harden. "You always make things ugly," she said. "Ethan never does this." Of course he didn't. He didn't have to. A month later, Ethan announced he was engaged. The whole house became wedding talk and fresh starts. When I walked into a room, conversations lowered like a curtain, and my mom started saying it more often, casual and possessive. "My house." Not our house, not the family house. Hers. That night, staring at the PDF on my screen, I finally closed one open loop. They hadn't decided to replace me when they told me to leave. They'd been practicing for years. I scrolled down, eyes narrowing, looking for the part where my name appeared. My name appeared halfway down the page, typed cleanly like it belonged there. Then I saw the signature line, and my throat went cold for a different reason. I didn't read the whole thing yet. I couldn't. Not until I walked back to the moment everything changed, the night my mom said it out loud. It was early spring, warm enough that the air coming through the screen door smelled like cut grass and charcoal from a neighbor's grill. Ethan had called it a family dinner. "Big update," he'd texted. No details. When I arrived, the dining room looked staged. Fresh flowers, candles, my mom's good plates. She only used those when she wanted an audience. Ethan sat at the table in a new button-down, smiling too hard. My mom hovered behind him like a spotlight. I took my seat quietly. I could feel the heat from the overhead light, too bright like interrogation lighting. Ethan cleared his throat. "So," he said, glancing at my mom, "we're moving forward with the wedding plans." My mom clasped her hands. "Finally!" They talked venues, dates. Guest lists. I nodded, asked one polite question, and stayed out of the way. That was my role. Then my mom poured herself water, sat down, and spoke like she was reading from a script. "We're selling," she said. I blinked. "Selling what?" She didn't look at me. She cut a piece of chicken, calm as weather. "The house," she said. "We sold the house, you're out." Just like that, no warning, no conversation. A sentence meant to end something. The room went quiet except for the faint hum of the fridge in the next room. I set my fork down, not dramatically, just carefully. "Closing when?" I asked. My mom smiled without showing her teeth. "Soon," she said. "You don't need the details." I looked at Ethan. He stared at his plate like it contained instructions. "You knew?" I asked him. He swallowed. "It's complicated." That was the only defense he ever needed. Complicated meant nobody held him responsible. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't beg. I didn't ask why I wasn't invited into the decision about the place I'd helped keep afloat. I just nodded once because something in me recognized the shape of a trap. 30 days, my mom added, like she was generous. I stood up, pushed my chair in, and picked up my bag. "Okay," I said. "I'll handle my part." On my way out, I caught the smell of her lemon cleaner again, sharp and artificial. Like she'd already scrubbed me from the room. 6 months later, staring at that signature line on my screen, I finally closed a loop I couldn't name that night. They weren't selling to move. They were selling to remove. And the proof was sitting in black ink, waiting for me to zoom in. I zoomed in on the signature until the pixels broke apart, and it still didn't look like my hand. Then I noticed the notary stamp, and my stomach dropped at the name. It was someone local. Someone who didn't notarize in secret. Someone with an office I could drive past. The apartment felt warmer than it should have, stale heat and printer ink in the air. My laptop screen was the only light, and it made the black letters look sharper. The document title was plain, quitclaim deed. My name was typed as grantor, like I had willingly signed away my interest. The date was the part that made my mouth go dry. It was filed the same week my mom gave me 30 days. I scrolled to the signature block again and held my breath. The letters were close to mine, but too smooth. The slant was wrong. The loop in my last name was a lazy circle, not the tight hook I always made. I opened an old PDF from my bank, a loan application I knew was real, and put them side by side. 2 signatures. One me, one imitation. I didn't feel panic. I felt a cold kind of math. If this was filed, then someone had needed my name to move something bigger. I clicked through the county site until I found the related entry. Transfer. Consideration listed. Then another line that made my eyes narrow, a reference to the closing. So the sale had happened, not just a story at a dinner table. I went back to the certified notice on my counter and read it slower this time. It mentioned the property, the transfer, and a forwarding address. That was how it found me. The county had my new address because someone had updated it during the process, like they were tying up loose ends. I opened my banking app and searched the week after the filing date, the same way I searched for patterns in my life. There it was. A deposit alert I had ignored months ago because it was small and labeled like a refund. $187 and change. It hit the day after the closing. Not enough to be a payout, just enough to look like I'd been included. Just enough to make a paper trail feel clean. My mom hadn't wanted me to get money. She wanted my name to unlock the money. I sat back, the chair creaking under me, and the room went quiet except for the faint traffic outside. They didn't just kick me out, they tried to transfer me out of my own life. And now I knew what I needed next. I didn't call my mom, I didn't text Ethan, I didn't even take a screenshot yet. I opened a blank document and started a timeline because feelings don't hold up in court. The apartment smelled like warm dust from the heater, and the only sound was my keyboard. Date of the dinner, date of the filing, date of the closing, the tiny deposit, the notary name. Then I made a second list. Questions: who showed an ID, who witnessed the signature, who collected the money. Too many loops opened in my head at once. If the notary was real, how did they notarize a fake me? And if the sale was real, where did the rest of the money go? I closed one loop on purpose. The notice found me because someone updated my address. That meant this wasn't sloppy. It was careful. I stared at my own name on that deed and felt something settle. I don't argue with lies, I document them. I said it out loud, slow, like a gavel. Then I put my phone on Do Not Disturb and slid it face down. No more family conversations, not until everything was in writing. I opened a new folder on my desktop and named it one word: evidence. By morning, my printer was humming and my desk looked like a small investigation. I froze my credit first because I didn't know what else they'd used my name for. The air in my apartment smelled like burnt toast from a rushed breakfast, and the winter light coming through the blinds cut the room into stripes. I logged into each credit bureau and locked everything down. Then I pulled my reports and scanned for anything tied to that house. New accounts, hard inquiries, a loan I didn't recognize, nothing popped up, not yet, but the absence didn't calm me. It only told me I was early. I printed the quitclaim deed. I printed the county receipt that showed the filing date. I printed the property transfer notice. I highlighted the notary name until it looked bruised. Then I opened a fresh email and wrote 3 words in the subject line: request closing packet. I sent it to the title company listed in the county record, polite and plain. I asked for the full transaction file, including the settlement statement, notary logs, copies of identification used, and any signing appointment records. Too many loops hung over me while I typed. If my mother had gone through a title company, someone had verified something. And if they had verified something, there was a trail that didn't care about family. Next, I built proof that I wasn't there. I opened my work portal and pulled badge swipe logs for the week of the filing. I exported my schedule. I screenshot my timesheets. I checked my calendar history and saved the entries that showed I was on site, in meetings, clocked in. I didn't do it because I thought I'd forget. I did it because I knew someone else would try to rewrite it. I called my bank and asked for any records tied to that deposit and the account it came from. The representative's voice was neutral, the kind you get when they don't know if you're about to cry. "I'm not upset," I told her. "I'm documenting." She paused, then lowered her tone like she understood. She gave me a case number and told me how to request a trace. I wrote it down. Then I searched the county database again and pulled every related filing number connected to the property. Anything that referenced my name, my mom's name, or a trust. I saved PDFs into my evidence folder and renamed each one with the date first, because chronology is harder to argue with. At noon, I sat in my car outside a small law office with fogged windows and a brass plaque by the door. Inside, the air smelled like paper and old carpet. The attorney listened without interrupting, flipping through my printed pages like he'd seen this kind of theft before. He didn't ask why my mother would do it. He asked two things. "Do you have a copy of your real signature?" he said, "and do you want this handled quietly or correctly?" "Correctly," I said. He nodded once, like that was the only sane answer. We filed an identity theft report to establish an official timeline. Not because a report fixes anything, because a report makes your story harder to deny later. He drafted a preservation letter to the title company and the notary, demanding they keep every record, every log, every video if it existed. No phone calls, no informal explanations, everything in writing. That night, I changed every password I could think of. Banking, email. Anything my mom had ever been near. I removed myself from shared plans. I stopped paying for anything that wasn't mine. I updated beneficiaries because the people who steal quietly don't stop at houses. And still, I didn't contact my family. I practiced one sentence in my head, calm and clean, in case they reached out first. Put it in writing. By the time they realized I wasn't over it, my evidence binder already existed. The title company replied 2 days later with a short email and a PDF attachment. When I opened it, the settlement statement showed numbers big enough to explain everything. The sale price was printed in clean lines like it was just a transaction. Proceeds, payoffs, fees, and then a disbursement section that made my eyes stop. Most of the money went to an account I recognized, not because I'd ever been on it, because I'd seen the last 4 digits on my mom's old checks. A second mini loop tightened in my chest. If the money went to her, why had she bothered sending me that tiny deposit? Then I saw it. My name listed as if I had participated. Like I had agreed. I didn't react. I saved the PDF. I forwarded it to my attorney. I printed it and added it behind the deed. A week later, I walked into the title company's office with a binder under my arm and a calm face I'd practiced in the mirror. The lobby smelled like citrus air freshener and carpet glue. Soft music played too quietly to matter. A receptionist smiled. "Can I help you?" "I have an appointment," I said. "Maya Raman." When they led me back, the conference room was glass-walled, bright, visible, no corners for private stories. My attorney arrived a minute later. He set his briefcase down like a period at the end of a sentence. Then my mother walked in. She looked polished. Hair done, a cardigan that said harmless. Ethan followed behind her, hands in his pockets like this was inconvenient, not criminal. My mom's eyes flicked to the binder and then away. "Oh, Maya," she said, soft, like she was greeting me at church. "This is unnecessary." I didn't answer that. I nodded at the title officer instead. The title officer cleared her throat and spoke in a voice built for forms. "We're here to address an allegation of a forged signature and irregularities in the notarization of a recorded conveyance," she said. My mom laughed once, quick and dismissive. "This is family," she said. "She's confused." I opened the binder and slid one page across the table. The deed. Then a second page. My real signature, dated and verified. Then the badge log showing I was at work at the exact time the notary claimed I was signing. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't explain my feelings, I just let the timestamp speak. The title officer's expression shifted. Not anger, concern. "Ms. Rahman," she said to my mother, "do you have copies of the identification used at signing?" My mom's mouth tightened. "It was handled," she said. My attorney leaned forward slightly. "We've issued a preservation notice," he said. "We're requesting the signing appointment record, the notary journal entry, and any scanned identification. If those records are missing, that will be noted." Ethan finally looked up. "Can we just talk about this privately?" I turned my head toward him slow. "Talk to counsel," I said. The title officer tapped her pen, then spoke again, even more formal. "If the grantor's signature was not executed by the grantor, the deed may be void," she said. "This matter may require referral to title insurance and, depending on findings, law enforcement." My mother's shoulders lifted like she was about to argue, then fell when she realized nobody in that room ran on guilt. For the first time, her voice got smaller. "This will ruin us," she said. I watched her carefully, like I was reading fine print. "No," I said. "You did that." The title officer collected the documents and stood. "We will be placing a hold and opening an investigation," she said. "All parties will communicate through counsel." That was the consequence. Not a slap, not a scream, a process. As we walked out, the hallway lights were too bright, making everything look exposed. I could feel my heartbeat, steady and slow, like it had finally found a rhythm again. My mother followed, quick steps on the tile. "Maya," she hissed, "after everything I've done for you." I didn't stop walking. I didn't turn around. I said the only line that mattered. "You can keep the story, but you don't get my name." The first morning after the meeting, I woke up to sunlight and no new messages. For the first time in months, silence felt like safety. My kitchen smelled like plain coffee and clean soap. I stood at the sink and watched the steam rise, slow and steady, and I let my shoulders drop. Over the next few weeks, everything moved the way official things move. Not fast, not loud, just forward. The title company opened a claim. The deed was challenged. My attorney handled every call. When my mom tried to contact me, it came through as a blocked number and a voicemail that sounded like a performance. "I don't understand why you're doing this," she said, crying on cue. "Call me." I didn't. I forwarded the voicemail to my attorney and went back to work. One open loop closed in a way that didn't feel satisfying, just final. The notary's records showed my name had been signed in a signing appointment I never attended. The details didn't need my opinion. They needed my absence documented. Ethan sent one email. It was 3 lines. "I didn't know it was like this. Mom is falling apart. Can we talk?" I read it once. Then I replied with 6 words and nothing else. "Please direct all communication to counsel." After that, the family group chat went quiet. The wedding moved forward without my name in it, and that was fine. I wasn't interested in being invited back into a room that required me to pretend. What I wanted was simple. A life that didn't depend on someone else's mood. I kept my routines small on purpose. Saturday groceries, laundry, a walk with headphones when the sun started to drop and the air turned cool. I started rebuilding my savings the way I'd rebuilt everything else. Slowly, automatically, without announcements. I bought a plant for my windowsill and watched it lean toward the light like it trusted the world again. People asked if I missed them. I told the truth, quietly. I miss who I thought they were. And I kept the lesson that cost me the most. If someone needs your silence to keep their peace, they were never offering you peace, only control. So if you're watching this and you've ever been made the scapegoat, tell me what boundary you wish you set sooner and where you're watching from. And if you want more stories like this, the kind with receipts and quiet freedom at the end, subscribe.